Hey everyone, this is Victor from Cyborg for Life, and I want to welcome you to episode 115 of Lengthening Live, where the patients interview the guests. And today we are doing an interview with a special guest. That's right. I've been hearing rumblings of this guy from over 14,000 miles away in Brisbane, Australia, helping out parents with their kids who have limb lengthening and deformity reconstruction surgeries. And I thought it was really cool, and I had to reach out to him, connect with him, and get him on for an interview. And we have him here today. So without further ado, please welcome my guest, Simon Reilly. Welcome to the show, Simon. How are you doing today?
G'day, Victor. How you doing? All the way from Australia, I guess. There you go.
Absolutely, absolutely. When I reached out to you, actually, we connected. I think it was late January, and I found out what you were doing, helping parents, with their kids who are going through limb lengthening, deformity reconstruction. I thought it was incredible what you're doing. I thought it was kind of synonymous, parallel to what I'm doing with, limb lengthening. I was like, this is really cool. So I want to kind of bring you on, talk about your story, find out how you got into the world of limb lengthening, deformity reconstruction. So, but before we do, just kind of go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody, kind of talk about kind of where you are and what you do. I know that you've had a career in emergency services and stuff like that.
Yeah, look, I had a career of 42 years in emergency services, ranging in the fire department. And as people well know, the fire department has a lot of different departments. So I spent a lot of different jobs within one service. I had 10 years in a rescue helicopter, and I've seen my fair share of trauma and seen my fair share of people in bad situations. And 42 years. I don't know what happened to it, but it come and it went. And I found myself just retired only about 12 months ago. So there you go. It's just another what happened to 42 years. So
time flies. That's incredible. Look, Simon, I think what you're doing is incredible. I mean, you have a background in emergency services, but you also have experience in limb lengthening and deformity reconstruction. Can you talk a little bit about how you got involved in this field? Because it's a very unique field. It's a field of advanced orthopedics. It's not typical, hip replacements, broken legs. We're talking next level stuff. So how'd you get involved in it?
Yeah, look, my wife and I got married, and I started a little bit later than normal, but we had a beautiful daughter named Demi. And we found out there was something abnormal at about 16 weeks, and we started doing scans and a lot of invasive stuff to check what was wrong, brittle bones. There was all these things being thrown up into the air, and it got to the point where I just put the brakes on everything. Because of my wife's state at the time, she was starting to get stressed. And really, we were bouncing around like a merry-go-round of doctors and scans and, all these kind of scenarios. I just went, right, let's just put the brakes on everything, because we don't know what we're going to get and what we're going to be dealt with. Let's just wait until our daughter's born and just see what happens from there. So there was a condition called fibular hemimelia, which was mentioned amongst a array of other conditions that my daughter could have had. And I just shut the door, mainly to just settle my wife down and stop the stress. So Demi was born. And sure enough, what came out, was fibular hemimelia.
Wow.
So in between all that, we were sort of, researching all these different things. So that's how we got brought into the world with fibular hemimelia and leg discrepancy and a foot problem.
Let's see. I gotcha. So your daughter, Demi, born with FH, fibular hemimelia. It's a rather rare deformity. However, it is pretty severe. It pretty much creates a discrepancy and deformation of the lower leg of the fibula. And so basically, Demi has this condition. She's very, very young. So what's the next steps? What leads you to kind of, I guess, look into potential solutions to resolve this deformity? Because surely you want her to have a normal life like all the other kids.
Yeah, look, we started doing some research before she was born. And then when she was actually born, we sort of, okay, these are the cards we're dealt with, and let's try to do, obviously, as a parent, do the best you can for your son, your daughter, whoever.
Mm.
And so we started researching. We had a little bit of research on it, and then we did a lot post when she was born, and we started going around, as you do in Australia, you start bouncing around different surgeons. And we were faced with, I think I went to about 13 different surgeons looking for answers. And some of the answers weren't really the kind of answers you really want to hear. So that's where we went to. And then we thought, then I started bouncing it off the doctors I worked with at work. And, we started whiteboarding things and whiteboarding, well, this is what this person said, this is what this person said. And there's all these different approaches. And then, so I found out through all my research, there was all these different types of fibular hemimelia, all these different severities, and that's where it sort of took things, So we sort of had to have our whole game plan together, and you've got a 14-month-old baby, or 6-month-old baby with this leg. You're thinking, well, what are we going to do about this, and how are we going to manage this? And you're looking for, obviously, like I said, the best answer and the best outcome, not only in the short term, but the long term for your daughter or your son.
Yeah, absolutely. And, when we talked a little bit back, in January, you told me a little bit more about your story. And you said you were doing research worldwide. You said that you looked in Australia, you revisited all these 13 surgeons, and you found like you hit a roadblock. But then you said that you kind of used the, you worked in the EMS services. You were really close with the fire department there in Australia. And then, you found that there was a connection abroad that kind of like maybe had a potential solution for Demi's condition. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, look, we started searching around the world, and we come across different, options, and then we come across Dr. Paley, and we initially emailed him, and within 24 hours, I got an email back. It nearly blew me off the seat. It was just crazy, and this guy, I've never met him before, and he answered my email and answered probably 10 questions in one email, and I thought, right, we're on a roll here, and then bear in mind, I'd spoken to previous other people in Australia, and then I get across to Dr. Paley in America, and it was quite interesting, some of the information he was sending me, which was, like he'd done so much of this. And, at the end of the day, Australia is a very small country compared to the United States or other countries. And, because this condition is like 1 in 100,000 births, it's very rare. So my daughter's case in Australia, like one surgeon was very honest, and he said to me, he said, listen, I've done one of these cases, not as bad as this, in 11 years. So at the end of the day, well, how are you going to get good at what you do just by doing one of these in 11 years? So, we went abroad, and, Dr. Paley certainly gave us some hope initially. And then as time went on, we engaged a fair bit on email. And every time I contacted him, he would answer, we used to do this, we're doing this now, and we're going to be doing this.
Gotcha. Now, you found Dr. Paley. You said that he was kind of like the expert in FH worldwide. You knew that he probably had the answers to the solution for Demi's condition, but how did you basically, go from being 14,000 miles away in, Australia to get Demi treated in where Paley's Institute was in Florida? How did you end up doing that?
Yeah, look, the situation in Australia was most of the outcomes that we were presented with in Australia was amputation. My wife's a scientist, and we kept going back to the whiteboard. We, whiteboarded every answer from, and what we thought, let's go to Florida. Let's go to Dr. Paley. We never met this guy before in our lives. And, if we don't like what we see and we don't hear what we like, we can get on a plane and come back and then reassess and regroup. But at the end of the day, we've got a 14-month-old baby that needs to get fixed. So, you really got to go, well, look, I want the best, and every parent wants the best for their child. So you will go to end of the earth, and 14,000 miles to a different country, and they no disrespect here, but you drive on the wrong side of the road, and it's pretty. So you know what, we did it, and we went there, and it was like we agreed. Dr. Paley was doing a tutorial from surgeons from all around the world to teach them his techniques. So we went, right, we've got to do this. And we went, and that's where our journey started there.
That's incredible. Yeah, no, I think that you definitely found somebody who knows a little bit about limb lengthening and deformity reconstruction as probably one of the most experienced surgeons in the world for that. But, I want to kind of like go a little bit more into Demi's actual condition of FH, and basically, how did she get it treated, basically? So you're going to the Paley Institute. What was his initial diagnosis, and basically how did he end up saying, like, this is the plan of care, this is what we're going to do to kind of get her treatment?
Yeah, like I said, we went to Florida. We flew into Florida, and our first appointment with Dr. Paley was with, I think he had 20 other surgeons from around the world, and we all came into the room, and our first chat was with 20 other surgeons and Dr. Paley, my wife and I. It was like, okay, well, this is going to be different. But he spoke to us and everybody just at one level, and he goes, this is what Demi's got. This is what we used to do. This is what we are now doing, and this is what we are going to do in the future, learning from, previous cases.
Nice.
So we started there at 15 months, and Demi, he told us we'd need to be there for 11 weeks. So, imagine I was still working. My wife was working, so we had to sort of put everything on hold. Our lives sort of go on hold for, we had to be there for 11 weeks. And as it was, we spent, I think, 14 weeks there, and we gained 5 centimeters. And he explained everything to us. And he says, like, for this lengthening, we're going to do 5 centimeters, and we're going to use the external fixator.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
And he said, probably when you come back in, when she's 9 or 10, we would have developed this new internal rod that, saves a lot of problems, and et cetera, et cetera. And we went, okay, he's thinking this far ahead. And, and then he explained the whole thing at this first consultation. And he looked around at me and he said, have you got any questions? I said, when can we start? So it was in 2 days' time, Demi had her first operation.
For the FH there. That's crazy. So you use the X-Fix to basically start off this process, and then it's kind of a sequential lengthening, as they call it, where you do one lengthening and multiple years later they do another lengthening. So can you talk about like that next lengthening, and because you did 5 centimeters initially, do you know how much she needed overall? Because she's growing, so it's going to change. And a lot of times surgeons use something called the multiplier method. I don't know if that's what the case was, to kind of predict how much they'll need. But yeah, talk about like what her next surgery was.
So we gained the 5 centimeters initially, and then the total predicted length discrepancy was about 16 centimeters.
Wow.
And then Dr. Paley said, look, we get 5, and then the next one. And between, she was 14 months, and he said around 9 or 10. And sure enough, around 9 or 10, she was pretty short. So we needed to get the next lengthening in progress. So 2019, we went over there, and we'd heard about the internal rod, that was great. And, our minds were in that direction, We'd heard about, virtually, I think we talked ourselves into it, before we even got there. And we're going, how good's this without this frame? And, the other thing is with the frame comes with ups and downs as well. And probably the internal rod comes with ups and downs. At the end of the day, we went in 2019 thinking that we're going to use the internal rod. and we're in the consultation, and Dr. Paley looks at us and goes, listen, I think we're not going to be able to use the rod. I think we're going to have to go the frame, and we're going to have to try to get 8 centimeters. And he said, there's very few kids that have got 8 centimeters, but he said, you know, at the end of the day, he said, the child's health comes first. If we don't get 8 centimeters, we pack up and we come back in a couple more years and centimeters. And we were in Florida for 6 months, which was another operation again. I was working still and commuting backwards and forwards from Florida to Australia each month. I think it was 2 times a month. 14,000 miles, 30 hours door to door. So, you know,
that's crazy.
That's what you've got to do.
That's what you do for your kids. You go out, you know, above and beyond. Now, you mentioned when we talked, you know, like I said, late January, you mentioned that there was a parallel between the fire department in Australia and the one in West Palm Beach. And you said that there was kind of like this camaraderie of, you know, mutual respect, and then they kind of like help take you in as a brotherhood. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think that was pretty cool. Like you're going through this crazy tribulation of like your kid going through these multiple surgeries, and they kind of brought you in and help, you know, support you.
Yeah, look, the fire department like is worldwide. You know, we all have the same goals. You know, people call us when they need help. So I wrote to the guys over there, Steve Gerald, who was the chief, and also Daryl Donato at West Palm Beach. I just wrote to them and just said, look, I'm coming 14,000 miles. Can you tell me, you know, where can you rent a house and where can you hire a car, and, you know, a bit of intel on where I'm coming into. And, you know, from there, these 2 guys, you know, they just welcomed us like a family and, you know, provided us with the information, logistics, and everything that we needed to go over there and operate. The camaraderie is, listen, we're all in the same business. Where, you know, you just take the uniforms off and swap them. We do the same thing, whether it be in Florida, Los Angeles, and, you know, September 11 was a prime example where, you know, we sent people from all over Australia to assist. You know, it doesn't matter where you come from. You're in the same job. You know what the end game is. You know what to do. You're out there to help people, you know, and the camaraderie doesn't matter what country you're from, you know, boys and girls, whatever. You're there to do a job. You're there to help and support people in need, you know, and people get themselves into some very dire situations. I can tell you, after 42 years, I can safely say I've seen a lot of situations, but none, you know, like nothing surprises me, you know. But anyhow, that's just the job, you know.
Absolutely. And I think that the reason why I touched on that point, because it shows the type of background you have, right? Like EMS, fire department services, it's kind of like this role of helping. And now I want to kind of transition into back to Demi's story of like, she's getting these surgeries in West Palm Beach. You know, she's in good hands. However, you start to, you know, we talked about you going into her physical therapy sessions and attending these sessions, and being a supportive father, obviously, and, you know, you and your wife are dealing with this process with Demi, but then you kind of take note of other kids and their parents' interactions, because this is a very, you know, serious procedure, right? Deformity correction of any kind. It could be congenital femoral deficiency, fibular hemimelia. We can talk about any type of unilateral defects that can cause a lot of strife on a family that don't understand it. But you came in and you did something different. Can you talk a little bit about what you did?
Oh, look, you know, I think initially when there's that much stress going on and your daughter's there, you know, your wife is, you know, being your wife and also a mother to your daughter, and you're the father, you know, I used to go to PT sessions on purpose, you know, and we used to take our turns and alternate. Sandy would go with Demi one day and I'd go with Demi one day. And look, I would see kids going through their PT there, and even stature patients going through their PT. You know, you really got to focus on what you're trying to achieve yourself. But
Mhm.
then, you get to meet other people. I can tell you a story. There was a little girl there, and I think she was about 9. And every morning she'd come to PT, and she was on the bed beside us doing a PT. And, man, she used to cry. And, she's the loveliest little girl. I just can't think of a name off the top of my head. Anyhow, I just used to cry, and it got to me a few times where, God, I've got to help this little girl, And Demi was like a trooper in PT. She'd just get on with it, and we make a little bit of fun, and the PT people make it. And she used to have this wicked sense of humor, and I don't know where she got that from. Probably me or my wife, I don't know. But this one little girl, like oh man, and like even there were stature patients there, But this one little girl, I went in one morning, I went to the Sports Authority. I think there's a store, like they're a chain store, and I walked in there to get a pair of runners because I wanted to do some running, in the afternoons. Anyhow, I seen this thing on the counter. It was a stress ball, and I went, you know what? I'm going to buy this. I bought this ball, and the next day we're in a PT, and this girl's there, and they're stretching a leg and doing this and doing that. What they do. And I reached over and gave her this ball, and I said, listen, take the stress out on this ball. You squeeze the living daylights out of this ball. Anyhow, long story short, after going in, because we sort of all had the same time each week, this little girl brought this ball in every time she did PT. And you know what? The crying stopped.
Wow.
And she used to squeeze the hell out of that ball. And then she used to start laughing at me, But her mum said to me, oh, my God, like that, just a ball. I can't believe the ball just made such a difference. And, sure enough, I think it was about 5 or 6 years later, I get an email from my mother saying that she got invited to the White House to do a school thing and everything like that. And you know what? She had to do a talk or something. And her mum said, you know what? She's still got that ball. So, just a little things make a big difference, And there was a guy going through, his stature lengthening,
Mm-hmm.
He was, he was hurting, and he'd be on the opposite bed to Demi, and he'd look across and goes, oh man, this is killing me. And I go, listen, have a look on the other bed. There's my daughter there, And I bought him in a teaspoon one day, and he goes, oh my God, your daughter's so tough. And I bought him in a teafspoon one day. He goes, what's that for? And I said, well, take a teaspoon of cement. I said, check my daughter out. Come on, you can do this, And after that, every day he'd come in, PT had his teaspoon in his pocket. He goes, well, I got my teaspoon just in case I need the cement. So, just little things make a big difference to helping people,
Yeah.
And the interaction, you just can't. I used to see people walk in and dump their daughter with the PT person and walk out. Like your daughter or your son, or even a grown man or a grown woman that's going through stature, they're looking for that support. And when you're in your lowest points there, sometimes just to hold a hand and a little bit of encouragement goes a big way. I've flown some people in some critical conditions, and just to hang on to their hand in that space, man, I tell you that, so the support in that area is vital,
Right. And I think that you were able to identify this early on. You did it with your own daughter, but then you noticed that other parents and other patients they had a disconnect, and you basically said, hey, look, get back in there, go with your kid, help them out, go through with it. And then basically it transformed the rehabilitation process to help them get back on track a lot quicker. And the same thing with the stature patient. I mean, the fact that you gave them that teaspoon, and it's just these small things that you were able to kind of notice and pay attention to, it had big impacts later on the line. I think that's incredible. I mean, that's kind of what I had to bring you on, because I've been hearing these things, from people, and parents basically have mentioned you. They said that this guy in Australia, and I was like, who is this guy? So I found you, we connected, and I had to bring you on. So I think that's incredible, Simon. So Simon, now what I want to talk about is going back to Demi's kind of like where she is now. And then I want to kind of kind of wrap it up and talk about like how you are, helping parents, and everything like that now. So let's kind of talk a little bit about Demi, because I think you told me before we came on today that she's approaching her 14th birthday here shortly, right?
Correct. Yeah. 14 in 2 weeks. Where's that gone?
2 weeks? Yeah, that's like
Yeah.
sometime in April. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
From 9 months old to 14 years old, the time flew. There's your
Oh,
42 years, right?
just a blur. Where did that 14 years go?
Absolutely. That's crazy. So is she done her lengthenings completely? Did she have the frames removed, everything? Because you said that 2019 she had that done, but what happened after that?
Yeah, look, 2019 we had the big 6 months over there. We did the lengthening. We came back to Australia with the frame on, and guess what? COVID hit. So we ring
Yeah.
Dr. Paley. We're due to go back on the Monday to get the frame off, and we're flying out on the Friday. And he goes, "COVID's hit, job's off. I suggest you stay at home." So then we had to do a bit of a switch, a pivot, and go, right, let's get the frame off here in Australia with Dr. Paley's help via video link, etc., etc. So we organised that all through COVID. The hospitals were closed. I think Australia was the biggest prison in the world where nobody could come, nobody could go. Even to the point at the hospital, there's only one person allowed in with my daughter, etc., etc. That's a whole nother story. But we got her frame off, and then we had to import a rod that Dr. Paley wanted inserted into a leg for strengthening. So then we'd be obviously, we were sort of running a bit of a satellite operation here type of thing. So we couldn't go anywhere, we couldn't do anything. So we had to get a PT person from here. I flew a PT person over to Florida for 10 days of intense training. So then the long-term goal was get that PT person could help other kids that were getting lengthening also here and bring the latest info on PT back to here. So we got her trained up. She treated Demi. Demi's got this rod in and she's flying. So she had her last operation about 15 months ago where we had the 8 plate removed in her left leg just to correct another issue going on. And under Dr. Paley's guidance, we had this rod come from America that's inserted into her leg for extra strength. Dr. Paley calls them little tweaks. So he tweaked a few things with her ankle because her ankle was around the other way, and he brought the ankle and foot around to a point where it is fused, but it's flat. So as he's lengthening, he's adjusting the angles, tweaks.
Right. Little tweaks to get it corrected. So she got her deformity correction. So she's kind of done with all of her surgeries.
Correct. Yeah. She's out of the woods. We did the hard yards there in 2019, and we got a fair bit. 8.32. That's a lot of length.
That's a lot of
length, and you tell people this and they go, oh yeah, but in the world of leg lengthening, whether your deformity correction or stature, 8.32 is a lot.
A ton, especially on the lower leg, BK below the knee. It's a ton. People don't understand that stretch of the tissues because with this, I mean, you have to do it sequentially. I mean, she did 5 and then went for, it was 8 after that, right? Yeah. So that's incredible. Wow. Congrats, Demi, and happy birthday and coming in the future here. So that's amazing. But Simon, I want to kind of go back to you now and, basically this altruistic, I guess, obligation you have going on now over there in Australia. Basically, this is what I've heard. This is how I've come across you is basically you're helping parents with their kids' surgeries and operations that are very similar to Demi's, or even like there's some kids you said that are for dwarfism and whatnot, they're getting stature lengthening or stature lengthening. You're kind of like this guy who's helping parents. And I think that's so incredible. I think that, that's kind of what I'm doing with my platform is like informing patients about this, but you're actually out there helping the parents. And that's something that I kind of get some parents that are reaching out to me, but I was like, man, this guy, if he's helping parents and he's really good at it, maybe we can kind of like, team up and, if I can kind of like help give you some like notoriety out here and maybe they can reach out to you in some way or fashion, because this is streaming to the Facebook group. And I know there's a lot of parents in there. So that's why I wanted to bring you on. So can you talk a little bit about like your new kind of role as this helper or whatever kind of,
Look, I come into this role by, via Demi's background via my background in the fire department and my, years in the helicopter treating people and rescuing people, etc. When we came back, like when we went to America, we didn't have any roadmap. There was nobody that we could ring up and say, hey, listen, what do we do here and what do we do there? And, there was this and during the lengthening process, you got to be prepared. You have got to be able to pivot. You got to be able to support each other. You got to be, there's a bit of stress involved. And whether you're doing it for a kid or you're doing stature lengthening, there's different levels of little tips and tricks. There's a platform called TripAdvisor. If you're going to go on holiday, you're going to look up TripAdvisor and go, oh, well, we stay there and we do this too and we do that. Well, there's no really, when I went to America, we went all the way there. We were going there. We were flying blind, There was no TripAdvisor to go and research and ask. There was a lot of Facebook groups that I looked at. But the trouble is, every patient or every person is different in the way they react, different in the way they heal, different in the way they respond. So you can't, pigeonhole each case as if it's going to be the same. Mum and dad might say, oh, my kid did this, and, but another kid, or even with the stature patients, everybody performs differently and the results are different.
Yeah.
So there was no roadmap. So I thought, you know what? And then all of a sudden one day I got an email from Dr. Paley. He goes, oh, I've just had these people call from, from Australia. They live in Sydney. They've got a problem with their child. And would you be able to, and in the email, when I read the email, he said, look, Simon's navigated from A to B and got to C and D, E and F and G, and he's been through this process. So I rang these people up and started talking to them. I said, look, okay, the first thing is I want you to get is a notebook and write down your questions. And as you get the answers, you write down the answers. And then, giving them tips like, when you go into a meeting with a surgeon, one person has got to ask the questions and one person has got to absorb the questions.
Yeah.
You just can't go in there flying blind. And I came into this role where since 2011, we've had Demi. I think we're up around about 27 people that have been to Dr. Paley. And look, all these people have been on the same merry-go-round as myself and my wife went on with Demi when we first started. And if I hit the replay button and when I talk to these people, it's exactly the same, So, and look, I've spoken to somebody in England as well and helped them, because, you're going into an unknown thing. And if you can, and I find if I can impart my knowledge, not only as a parent, but going through the leg lengthening process as a parent, as well as going through it with all my medical knowledge, and bringing it all together, you can prepare people to some point before they even hit the surgeon. And it's going to make the surgeon's job a hell of a lot easier because, they walked in, and I've had people go to Florida with Dr. Paley and, he goes, oh, you've definitely spoken to Simon. Because it's all the little tips and tricks that you learn along the way, along the journey, just down to, I used to take my daughter into the surf. First thing I said to Dr. Paley, when can I go in the salt water with this frame? And he looked at me. I said, he goes, 14 days. And he goes, you're going to take it to the surf? And I went, yeah, it's the best antibody you can get for cleaning those pins. And he went, wow, that's good, It's just all these little tips, But then this guy showed me, you've got to get the cotton bud and you've got to do this and you've got to do this. And, things have evolved since then, sure. But it's helping, whether it's kids. But the main thing is, it's preparing the parents or the husbands or the wives of the stature patient. You're going to go in there with some roadmap or what do you call it, some TripAdvisor info that, I've experienced, and I can, A, I'm no doctor, and B, I don't even, prescribe that I'm a doctor, but I can see things, Even with my own daughter, one day we had a little red pin. I went, that doesn't look right,
Yeah.
And sure enough, I took a picture. Boom! Next minute, we're on antibiotics. It's just being aware of what to look for. All these little things mount up, and if you can offload all that stress while you're going through this, and you've got somebody to bounce things off with what you're going through, and just say, ring me and say, hey, what do we do with this? Or I had a patient ring me one day and they said, hey, we've just been in the pool and the strut just fell off. I go, well, better get a spanner and put it back on, and then immediately go and get an X-ray, and then call Dr. Paley. Because remember, we're 14,000 miles away. Some hospitals here have never ever seen a frame. So let alone a kid or a stature patient.
Absolutely. And this is why I think it's so cool that I was able to connect with you, because you're helping I guess you're kind of supplemental to kind of what I do. I kind of have that, I guess, information directly to the patients themselves and educating them with limb lengthening information. And you're kind of helping the counterparts, like whether it's the parents, the loved ones, and you also are making that connection. So I was like, you know what, this is kind of like a superpower, making the cyborg team even more powerful. So I'm so glad you accepted the invitation to come on and share your information with everybody, because there's parents watching right now, because they're going to realize that this isn't just a discussion about fibular hemimelia, which is an amazing journey, and I wish Demi the best, but it's also about what you're doing to help people and giving back to the industry that gave to your daughter. And that's kind of what I'm doing, right? This industry of limb lengthening changed me, and I'm just trying to create my moral obligation to give back to the industry. And it's so cool to have that. And this is kind of where you got the nomenclature, the coach, right? Like, from helping these parents and helping these people, you're coaching them along this limb lengthening, deformity reconstruction process. And I think that's just so cool. That's awesome. Simon.
Yeah. Look, I got called out a couple of times and it sort of stuck, and if you can coach people, the surgeons, like for us, Dr. Paley, you got to let him do his job, and if you can go in there and support that person, it's like me when I used to go to and manage massive big incidents. You can only prepare for so much, but if you've got stuff you can call on, like the coach, you can call on me and go, hey, what are we doing here? Or what, the surgeons are busy. Look, they haven't got time to sometimes coach you, you know what I mean? Or a stature patient, you've got to advocate for yourself, and you've got to get together. And if you can bounce something off somebody, go, oh, well, yeah, okay, that will work. But if it's like going to, I watched your American football the other day, and it was quite interesting. They've got this game plan down. Yeah, they've got the game plan down, but there's also a game that's going on. It's like in the fire department, you've got a massive incident going on, which is, we're going through leg lengthening, but you've also got this world going on that's still rotating around your daughter, and you've got to live, you've got to, get on with your life, you've got to manage your house, you've got to manage other siblings, you've got to be a manager of everything. But if you can bounce stuff off this other person, and, like a football team, you've got probably 20 players, everybody operates differently. Everybody responds differently. But there's a coach there, and this is what this person said to me one day. You see, you're like a coach to us. We can ring you up and tell you what's going on, and then you sort of give us some little solutions or little pointers, and we pivot off them. And I had one lady one day rang me. It was just before dinner, and she rang me and she goes, listen, my daughter's, out of control. My husband's this, I go, listen, just calm things down, just give some support sometimes, and just, hey, let's, this leg length thing, just help, that's all you can do. And just give them some right answers as much, as I've been through with Demi. Yeah, sure. We had our stress days, and my wife had her stress days, but, you manage the load.
Yep.
And I'm sure there's people out there and some parents out there that, even stature patients, they go off on this journey to stature lengthening, and that's fine. But who do they bounce things off? Who do they, it's like the parents. you got this child that you're trying to do your best for. There's no roadmap in this world for the leg lengthening. It's all different. And if you can help people like I've done for the last 42 years, but I'm just going down a different way of doing it,
Absolutely. I think that's fantastic. I mean, so that's how you got the name The Coach. He's basically coaching parents, coaching patients, coaching, loved ones, of helping them get through limb lengthening, deformity reconstruction. I think that's incredible. And, Simon, I told you before that I'd like to kind of offer you the opportunity to kind of be part of the Cyborg for Life family. And I'm going to, I don't have any contact information below for a reason, because I wanted to do it live. Is like, I want to kind of build you a page like I've done for other, surgeons and, experts. And I guess I built it like a service that where basically patients can reach out to if they have issues and stuff. And that would be for parents and loved ones. If they want to kind of reach out to the coach, they can do that. So I'll try to get that done in the next week or two. But it'll be posted below this video. But in the meantime, if you guys want to reach out to the coach, Simon, you can just reach out to me directly. I'll relay it until I can get time to build them out a page. But I think it's really cool because it allows, I guess the mission of Cyborg for Life to kind of grow and evolve. And I can't do everything by myself, because you have expertise in different areas with parents and loved ones and, patients too, and I think that we're kind of working on the same team. So I was like, man, I got to bring this guy on. He's kind of like you're building like the Justice League, essentially, the Cyborg, and now you got the coach. We're gonna build out the team. It's super cool. I love doing stuff like that. So I'm a nerd, as you can't tell. But anyway, no, I think that's incredible, Simon. So is there anything that you would like to say to other parents or patients or anybody going through a grueling process like limb lengthening, deformity reconstruction, and yeah, let's just talk directly to the parents, because I think that's something that I don't do enough of, right? Because we know that they are going through hell because they're seeing their kid have this crazy deformity or go through this grueling procedure of stature lengthening or discrepancy fixing. What do you say to them to kind of get them from being overwhelmed to being focused and back on track?
Yeah, look, it's a really good question. And I think the best thing is to prepare yourselves is you've just got to put what's going on aside for a few minutes and go, right, how are we going to attack this and how are we going to deal with this? I keep going back to a big incident. I'd arrive on scene and I'd go, what's going on here? How am I going to deal with this? And what's going to be the outcome? So I think the best thing for parents is have this conversation with your wife. And, yes, reach out and get some help that is not to do with the surgical process,
Yes.
i.e. what I've been doing. And then you get your head around what is actually going on in what you're going to enter into. Mm-hmm. And then you can prepare yourself a little bit more for the game, so to speak. And then if you've got some preparation done and, you've got these little tricks, like one does the asking of the questions and one does the absorbing of the answers, you'll process things a lot differently. I think on the other key point is with parents, look, I'm not saying kids are like animals or dogs. I had to put my dog down at Christmas time, which is 15 years with a dog, The thing was that my dog was looking for me when she was in need, And, when your daughter or your son's going through this, as a parent, they are looking for you, A, the support, and B, the main thing is they're looking at you and feeding off you and your persona. And, if you and your wife are, stressed and fighting and, going, oh, my God, what's going on here? You know what happens? That transfers to your daughter and the healing process. So if you come into it cool, calm, collective, and positive, number 3, positivity, you go into that positive and your daughter or your son sees you being, high-fiving her and fist pumps and, you've got a few answers up your sleeve when they do ask you, your daughter or your son is going to breeze through leg lengthening, and so are you. I think it's, and I can tell you, I spoke to a couple of stature patients from different parts of the world. It's the same thing that applies for them. don't be afraid to talk to your mum and dad or your wife or your girlfriend, and and you feed off them. You get that positivity. You go, oh God, they're great. But especially with kids are looking for mum and dad for that support. Stature patients or adults, that's fine, but every adult needs a bit of TLC every now and again too. You know, and it goes a long way. Whether it be that teaspoon or a stress ball or something. I know it's crazy, but it's like, I flew this girl on this helicopter one day. She was from the other side of the world. She'd been kicked in the face by a horse. And for an hour and a half flight, in the middle of the night, she hung onto my hand like I thought I was going to get my hand crushed. But she come back 11 months later and thanked me. She goes, I didn't want to thank you about all that you did, but it was just holding my hand for that flight from where I got the accident to the hospital. That was the biggest thing. So take that and, as a parent, don't just put your kid in PT. Stick with them and walk out. Stick with them. Be there for them when they're in that time of need. Even with the stature patients, if you're your boyfriend, girlfriend, they're going through this, or your mum, stick with them. They love they need that support, positivity, and a little bit of confidence, mate. It goes a long way. And I hope everybody understands my accent because I'm talking very fast, so I'm sorry if people don't understand my English. So
they will.
There's some key points there, but certainly, you've got to have those, things in your armament, to go to what you're going into. Don't go in there unprepared.
I love it, Simon. I mean, that's incredible. If you think about it, it's exactly what stature patients talk about all the time on here. They say that it's a very lonely process, but you're basically saying that the support system is so crucial, and you are this integral part in this new equation, whereas you're supporting that. You're basically kind of coaching that support system, making sure it's as strong and formidable as possible during this arduous process. I mean, I'll tell you, I went through limb lengthening. I went through getting hit by a car, but I had that familial support. And I know that my family didn't know what to do at the time. They built into it, but when I was going through my limb lengthening surgery, they knew what to do. They knew how to respond because of my first surgery. But you going through with Demi have now transformed your moral obligation to kind of help these other parents, help these other patients. And I think it's truly incredible. And I want to say, welcome to the Cyborg for Life team. It's crazy. We're growing, and you will have a page where people can reach out to you. But for everybody who's watching out there, if you guys want to reach out to Simon, just reach out to me for now, and I'll relay it to him until we have his page up. But if you guys are watching, you guys have any questions for Simon, whether you're a parent with a kid who has limb lengthening, leg length discrepancy, stature, deformity correction, whatever it is, you want to ask him now, or if you want to send a message later, that's fine. Or if any patients who are watching, you guys want to ask Simon some questions, feel free. And like I said, you can leave your comments below, and I'll make sure to get them over to Simon. He'll respond and stuff like that. So let's just check through here real quick, and then we'll go ahead and do an outro here. Let me just see here. So somebody just finished. He wants to be on the show, so more people want to be on the show. We'll do more live streams, but today's Simon's day, so the coach is here. So come back, Brian. We're gonna get you on here, but let's see. Yeah, this one's from Melbourne. That's not too far from you, right, Simon?
A couple of hours down the road, not too far at all. It's pretty close. Yeah,
that's pretty close. That's very cool. So everyone wants to contribute. I love that. That's what Cyborg Flight's about. Is this year in 2024, my goal is to kind of decentralize the platform, make sure other people, we have patients talking, we have coaches talking to parents and patients. And I think that that's what we're doing, and we're doing a good job so far. So, all right, Simon. So I want to thank you for coming on, sharing your experience, Demi's story, your story, and now your new role as the coach. I think that's incredible. This video is going to be up here. I'll actually kind of tag it at fibular hemimelia as well, just so we can get parents who have that reaching out to you, so you have that specific help there. But if any parents reach out to me, I'll definitely send them your way, so you can kind of help them as well.
Sure.
But this is incredible. So guys, I want to thank every single one of you for watching Limb Lengthening Live episode 115. Next week we might do a leg length discrepancy roundtable, and then we'll probably be back to our normal open mics the week after if we don't have some special guests. But I want to thank every single one of you guys watching. I want to thank Simon Reilly, the coach, for coming on and sharing his new role of helping people. And until next time, this is Victor from Cyborg for Life signing out. See you guys next time. Peace.